channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things. And today I am giving you the final part of my Inheritance Games deep dive. If you are new here, this is the first video you're seeing. There are actually two other parts to this video where I talk about the Inheritance Games and then the Hawthorne Legacy, and this is the final part where I am talking about the Final Gambit. Final Gambit just recently came out this year, and I believe we have a fourth book coming out, but I am probably not going to make a wall for it. This was fun, don't get me wrong, but I'm probably not going to make a wall for it. But it was fun. Alright, with all that being said, let's get this show on the road. I've got some important keynotes for you. See, look, I even have note cards so that I seem a little bit less crazy. Alyssa and Avery, right now, our main character Avery, are currently kind of low-key fighting about whether or not Avery needs to have a trust, because, you know, she doesn't really know what to do with 40-something billion dollars, and it is about to become all hers to do as she pleases, and she doesn't really know what to do with that money, which makes sense because, like, I wouldn't know what to do with that money either, and I'm almost 30, so, you know, she's just turning 18. There's this really sweet, like, beginning scenes and stuff of Jameson and Avery, like, figuring things out and being cute for birthdays and parties and coming out parties, like debutante kind of coming out, not like gay coming out parties, etc. Very sweet, whatever. Seems like, why is this book being written? Until our favorite random daughter that showed up last book, Evelyn, shows up at the gates saying that Toby has been kidnapped. So, once again, just like in our last book, our, where's Toby? Find Toby. Toby and Evelyn, if you do not recall, Toby ran off with the key, or not the key, with the ring, not the ring, a necklace pendant, a coin thingy, sorry. He ran off into the nowhere after Sheffield Grayson was murdered by John Oren, or the maid, Melly, who I don't remember who for sure shot the gun, but John Oren is who we're going to say shot the gun. John Oren is over here, I don't know why I'm pointing over there. And killed Sheffield Grayson, who's Grayson's biological father. I talked about all that in the previous book, so go watch that video if you haven't seen it. But he ran off. He ran off, he said, I'll take care of Evelyn, don't even worry about it. So Evelyn and Toby have been apparently spending all their time together now, being beautiful father and daughter. I don't fucking know. They've been out in the middle of nowhere. Evelyn shows up to the gates after being specifically told to never ever show up to the Hawthorne Manor. And she does. She shows up to the Hawthorne Manor because she's not useful. She's not useful. Anyway, she shows up and she says, hey, Toby's been kidnapped. So, that sucks. Toby's been kidnapped. Other important things you might need to know: Constantine, who is Zara's husband and quite literally has never gotten a card on here and is never going to get a card, he's estranged. We don't know where the fuck he is. Grayson went to college went to Harvard because of some weird dynamic between Grayson and Avery that happened not in any of the books, but they like reference it a bunch. He went to college and has not really spoken to anyone, but he came back for Avery's 18th birthday, and that is what has also led Evelyn to show up. Also, when Eve shows up saying that Toby was kidnapped, she looks just like Emily, which causes some really weird reactions from Grayson and Jameson, because if you recall, they both are madly in love with Emily. So I'm going to move you guys a little bit closer to me, because these people, they're dead, they don't matter. And this side, they don't matter in this book either. So give me a minute to get you zoomed in. Cool, how's that? A little bit better? Seems a little bit better. All right, moving on. Carrying on with our story here. This is why I have note cards. Keeps me intact, keeps me in order. They do go ahead and rule out the Rooney family, which I did just like make those people, they're not disappeared, but Kaylee Rooney was killed in the fire that Toby allegedly started. She was also Sarah, that's not her real name, Sarah Hannah Rooney's sister, and is also the family of Avery that Avery didn't know about. And we've confirmed that they're not behind it. Obviously we know Sheffield Grayson's not behind it because that bitch is dead. So the coin is then sent back to the Hawthorne Manor for Avery, and it says, I always win in the end. And that's confusing because Avery understands supposedly that the coin is supposed to be worth a lot of money. Well, if it's worth a lot of money, then why the fuck did it get sent back, right? Confusing. But it did get sent back, so now she's like, okay, so somebody knows, maybe doesn't know what the coin is worth, or does know what it's worth and knows what it's for and is sending a message. They don't really know. the boys slash Avery slash Eve all want to know what the coin is, so they go ask Sky about it, Sky being the mother of the boys and a horrible human being all around, and she indicates that she knows what it is, but she's never actually seen it before. We also find out that she married her defense lawyer when she was like on trial or something for the nonsense that she's pulled in the other books. Crazy. And then John Oren comes up and tells Avery, hey, my guys, my security guys, your security detail have been getting job offers left and right. And then Alyssa shows up and she's like, yeah, someone's running a smear campaign against you. And so then like all of this stuff is happening in social media or the general public, where they're kind of sort of finding out about Toby still being alive. They're finding out these details that they don't need to. And, you know, it's one thing right after the other, and it seems like it's a distraction to keep them from finding Toby. Alyssa gives Avery a new game. So over here, I did not have this in previous videos. Over here we have some important clues and notes. We have the coin, which I've mentioned. We have the Poison Tree by William Blake because it gets mentioned a lot. We have Tobias's game, which is what Avery has just now been given, and then another game that I'll get into in a minute. But Tobias's game was given to Avery with the statement of give this to her if she ever meets Evelyn, which means that Tobias knew about Evelyn and, you know, just didn't say or do anything about it, which seems very Tobias behavior. So that's super great, not surprising at all. The Toby clues that have then now been sent, and I'm not going to get into the game details like fully because I'm not smart enough. That's really it. I'm not smart enough. That all leads to a Bible verse, which is the story of the prodigal son. Now, if you were not religious or were not raised religious, I'm going to give you the rundown of what the prodigal son is real quick. Also, that is going to be right here. The prodigal son is essentially this rich guy has two sons, and he has his sons working day in and day out or whatever, and he's going to give them all, you know, this money, this trust money, whatever. One son says, great, I'm going to stay here and help you out though. I'm going to stay and be a great son for you. Your favorite son, great, awesome. And then the other son, who was the favored son, says, no, give me my trust money, give me my funds. I'm gonna go. So he goes and he parties and he lives his best life, but then he runs out of money because he never learned like work efforts, work ethics, none of it. He didn't learn it, and so he sucks. And then he comes back and the son, son that stayed was like, aren't you gonna be like kicking this guy out because he sucks, like he took the money, he didn't help, and he was useless. And the father essentially takes him back into the fold and says, no, I love you, you're great, whatever, right? Awesome. That's the prodigal son story. I never really understood it. Like I did, but I didn't, and so that's the gist of it. There's probably more details that I'm missing that makes that story make more sense, but I wasn't about to read the Bible for this. I got enough religious trauma, you know? So, also what was funny though was that they were thinking like it was like invention numbers or all kinds of stuff, and then Max was like, no, it's the New International Version of this Bible verse. Like she just was like, do you mean the New International Version? It was very funny because the boys always figure shit out and Max is just out here like, haven't you ever been religious traumatized before? And the answer was no for them. So the kidnapper calls and is emphasizing this storyline, but he really wants to make it a focus that there are 3 characters involved, because generally we focus on the prodigal son, but we don't focus on the father or the other brother. We don't focus on those characters. And so they go ahead and assume that Tobias is the prodigal son. So they ask Pearl, his mother-in-law, you know, does he have a brother? Does he have a dad? What happened? And Pearl tells this story of like, no, he doesn't have any. He didn't have any. They were all gone by the time he got with Alice. You know, don't worry about it. So Avery's like, all right, we've offhand mentioned the fact that Tobias had a list. I have a list of people that are threats. And Tobias's lists are basically these crazy files that someone should have put into an Excel document, because you could have definitely narrowed things down in the way that they were trying to look for information, like who's specifically rich enough to be doing all of this. You could have saved yourselves a lot of time if you just made an Excel database, but I digress. They go look through these files, and interestingly of note, they find somebody who Tobias labeled as a possible risk, named Isaiah Alexander. Now, if you remember any of the other boys' daddies' names, if your last name matches your first name, that's probably your dad. So that is probably Xander's dad, especially considering the fact that he was fired around what would have been the date of Xander's conception. So, yeah. He was a genius, a mechanical genius, which makes sense because Xander's a mechanical genius. It all adds up, right? he was fired. So they're like, okay, but his file is missing. There's no file data. That's kind of weird. Why is that? We kind of assume that maybe Xander has it, but we don't really know. It's empty. What's going on with that? We don't know. We then find out, so we're like, okay, maybe Toby's the prodigal son. So they find out, they're like, let's find out about Toby's biological family. And they're using kind of Evelyn to do these things because Evelyn, Mallory, the mother, Mallory Laughlin, who's definitely unwell. That bitch is not well. She's, Mallory Laughlin. She is very excited, ecstatic about the fact that she has a granddaughter that she can look at who looks just like Emily, the daughter that she mourns the most, right? So she, you know, is being asked these questions about who Toby's biological father is because they know it's not Tobias. And because he was a teen pregnancy and they know it wasn't Tobias because Tobias never cheated on his mother. Or on his wife. So Mallory is just like crying, sobbing, whatever, and talking about how Liam never came back and how there was so much blood. So they know that his name was Liam. Interesting, right? Totally interesting. Anyway, keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. So a date from one of the puzzles in Tobias's game leads to a patent number, and that patent number was filed by Tobias and somebody named Vincent Blake, which I will likely refer to him as Blake throughout the rest of this. I don't know why my brain just habitually calls him Blake. It's in all my notes as Blake, so I'm probably gonna call him Vincent, or probably gonna call him Blake. Probably not Vincent Blake, but I don't know, we'll see. Vincent Blake is a very rich guy who was Tobias's mentor back before Tobias had money. They then go and talk to Pearl and are like, you said he had no family and you didn't say he had no mentors. And Pearl was like, oh, that's weird, I didn't feel like it was relevant, hee hee. So we find out that Vincent Blake pit his nephews against Tobias for favoritism, and because he felt like, you know, family doesn't matter, you just have to prove that you're smart enough to do shit. And they, out of revenge, then go and, trigger warning, they then go and assault Alice. And by that I mean they grope her up in a public space, so it could be much more brutal and dark. And I'm not saying that is not assault, I'm just saying it's not as brutal and dark as you would think when you hear that phrase, and I just want to clarify. So they go and assault Alice. So Tobias is insane, and he plans the long-term game of revenge, and that revenge would be filing the patent with Vincent Blake that does not do very well. And he then files a secondary patent a little bit later, not a ton later, but a little bit later, that is better. And that second patent is what got Tobias his entire fortune. And he then never speaks to the Blake family again. He's like, goodbye, bitch, I'm not dealing with this. So Vincent Blake then makes VB Innovation Lab, and he hires Isaiah. Isaiah and Xander meet, and I like lose my mind over the entire interaction because Isaiah basically says, no, I quit at VB Innovation Lab because when I couldn't get custody of Xander and they wouldn't let me see Xander, I decided I didn't want to deal with rich people anymore, and I just wanted to do my own thing. I didn't want to be controlled by rich people anymore. I was losing my mind because I just wanted to see Xander. And Xander, who's a sweet fucking cinnamon roll, goes, you wanted me? And then runs off because he can't deal with that information. Trauma. That sucked in my heart. We also find out that the coin here is a family seal. We see it on some of the documents and some of the things that the Blake family has. It's a family seal. Essentially, if you have it, you are earned one favor from the Blake family, or when Vincent Blake dies, you get a part of his fortune. So anybody who has this coin, whether they stole it, murdered for it, were given it, whatever, that's their coin. And there's only a few of them in existence, and that's how you will get a fortune from him. So once we find out that the coin earns you favor and fortune, whatever, now they have an idea of why it was sent back. They also understand, obviously at this point, that prodigal son game, the guy that kidnapped Toby, is gonna be Vincent Blake. But they don't really understand why. They don't understand what's happening here to have caused this kidnapping. So what they find out about that interaction where Tobias betrayed the Blake family is that Vincent's son took off afterwards out of being really, really frustrated and seeking revenge essentially at the fact that Tobias essentially embarrassed his father in such a way. What was the son's name? Oh, I don't know, William Blake. William Blake, cool, interesting, right? Super interesting. Who wrote The Poison Tree? Oh, right, William Blake. Also, do you remember when Mallory was talking about Toby's dad, you know, her baby daddy, and how Liam just left and there was so much blood? Oh, yes, it was in fact William Blake. You can go ahead and assume that one. So, what does that mean? Think about it. Toby left in last book, he left a clue that said, I hid your secret in the deepest or darkest hole. What we can assume is that Tobias killed an adult Liam, or William Blake, for sleeping with Mallory, a teenager. She was 16 at the time and William was like 24 or something disgusting. And Toby found the body, moved or hid it. Where's the body? So what do we know now? We know that William Blake is dead. We know that he's also Toby's daddy. And we can assume, at the moment, or in general, we can assume Tobias murdered him and hid it, and that's why Vincent Blake is pissed off. He wants to know where the body is. But Toby hid the body, so only Toby knows where the body is. So I don't know why nobody's asking Toby since Vincent kidnapped him, so why can't Toby just tell him and then Vincent tell? Why's everything gotta be a game? These are people's lives on the line. Anyway, whatever. Then we find out Evelyn disappears. She disappears, nobody knows where she went. Oh, where did she go? To Vincent Blake's house because she's fucking working for him. Yep, Evelyn is working for Vincent Blake, and also she kidnapped Alyssa because she's a piece of shit and we hate her. We don't hate her, she has her own trauma, but like also we hate her. Okay, annoying, right? So Evelyn has only ever wanted to be enough for her family. There's a problem here with that. And we'll get to that later. Avery finds a tomb, or like the group finds a tomb in a sanctuary that's on the property based on building plans and how new stuff was added each year. And so they base it, like, they trace things back to years, and they find a sanctuary that was built, I think, around the time of Toby's birth. And they find a tomb. In that tomb, there is a USB from Tobias for Tobias's game, as well as a note scratched in the wall that says, I know what you did, and it is clearly from Toby. The handwriting matches. So they then go to look for this body more, and what weirdly is happening when they go to look for the body is Andrew Laughlin, who is Mallory Laughlin's father and Emily and Rebecca Laughlin's grandfather, he's like, I'm not helping you look for this. I don't want any part of this. This was a horrifying time. It was a horrible, horrible time. They're like, you don't have to protect Tobias. That bitch is dead. It doesn't matter anyway. Everybody knows now or will know. So like, that's what we plan on doing. Andrew goes, I'm not trying to protect Tobias. So then they're like, okay, well, if you killed him, we get it. Mallory was 16. Like, that was fucked up. So if you killed him, that's absolutely fine too. Like, whatever, we'll figure out a way to protect you. And Andrew's like, bestie, it wasn't me either. So what we find out is that Mallory found out that William, was using her for revenge against Tobias. Mallory has never been all that mentally stable in any of these books, so she goes into a blind rage and beats the living fuck out of William Blake until he's dead. She blacks this out and she only remembers the blood and that he never came back. She doesn't really, I don't even think, knows that he's dead, like on a real level. She gets more and more childlike as the stories go on, and I have concerns about the fact that she even had Rebecca and Emily, but that's its own thing. So yeah, she blacked that out. During this time that they're finding this out, Grayson's been missing in action because he was like, I'm gonna go get Evelyn because I'm in love with her because she looks like Emily and I have trauma that I really should go to therapy for. And he goes, and Vincent Blake allows Grayson to swap places with Alyssa, so now Vincent Blake has Toby and Grayson kidnapped in his home. So Avery realizes, and this is what Evelyn's mistake is, she realizes, based on the way that Vincent Blake has been speaking to her or about her, that he underestimates and does not respect women. He does not expect women or girls to be able to have any kind of power or intelligence in comparison to men. Evelyn has only ever wanted to be enough for a family, and she will unfortunately never be enough for the Blake family because she is a woman. She does not know that though because she's not as smart as Avery. So maybe you won't be enough because you're simply not. Just kidding. So once she realizes this, she shows up with the paparazzi to be like, I'm coming onto his property to get Toby. So she just like outs it all, but it's so that Vincent Blake can't do anything to her. She has to be able to come back out. because all of the paparazzi is there. The whole world knows. He's been trying to distract them with the paparazzi this whole time, making them have to clean shit up behind like all of this news and stuff releasing. And instead of doing any of that, Avery goes, all right, we'll give the paparazzi the best news of their life. Let's go. So they roll up. She gets in with the coin. And she's thinking like she has the upper hand because she's done all of this. However, she finds out that Evelyn and Vincent Blake know about John Oren probably shooting Sheffield Grayson. And they plan to use that to blackmail John Oren, and they know that that is a weak spot for Avery because Avery does not feel like anything bad should happen to people like John Oren or Alyssa. She cares about these people and she wants good things to come to them, and they recognize this as a weakness of hers. So she, you know, says, what can we do, and can we play a game for it? So Blake then sets up a tournament of sorts. Give me one moment. I was gonna hang this on a wall, but it's honestly just easier if I show it to you. This is our game. This is what we got going on. We have Toby versus Eve playing chess, and then Avery versus Toby playing chess, and then Eve versus Avery playing chess, with each one having different outcomes depending on who wins. If Toby wins both, he gets to go free with nobody knowing where he is. If Eve wins both, she earns all 5 of the coins and like favor and anything she's ever dreamed of. And if Avery wins both, Grayson is freed and there is no blackmail against John Oren. Toby loses against Eve because he loses on purpose, and so Vincent Blake says, no, you have to play her legitimately. So Avery and Toby play a legitimate game of chess, and so you kind of see that interaction that they had back when Toby was Harry, the homeless guy, and they play chess back and forth. You see all these dynamics and stuff, and you actually get to see Avery's brain working in that chess mindset in that very first book without any of the influence from the Hawthorne boys, other than Toby, who's a Hawthorne boy, I guess, which was kind of cool to see. Avery wins that round. Then it's Eve, Evelyn versus Avery. This is kind of an internal conflict because there are things that happened if you lose. If Toby lost, he became Blake's. If Eve lost, she serves whoever she lost to. And if Avery lost, she's to write a blank check to Blake. Just a blank check that Vincent Blake can use whenever he wants to. Avery doesn't want to make Eve lose because she's already lost so much in her life and Avery has been given so much. So Avery decides to lose on purpose to Eve. But then she requests a new game. 1 versus Vincent Blake. She says if she wins, all of this is over and done with. Everybody's previous standing, everybody's previous deal. Eve gets one of the coins or whatever. Toby becomes Vincent Blake's. Avery wins Grayson or blackmail, the no blackmail, whatever. That all stands. But the new deal with her and Vincent Blake is if Avery wins, then all of this is over. All of it's over except for the ownership of Toby. And if she loses, Vincent Blake gets to be the only trusted advisor for her trust. She'll make a trust and she will let Vincent Blake be in charge of all of the money, and he gets to decide after that. $40 billion, he gets to decide after that, which is crazy. That's a lot of money to be betting on a chess game. She also still knows, though, that Vincent Blake super underestimates women, so of course he takes the deal. He's not gonna let a little girl beat him, and of course that little girl beats him because she's a fucking genius. That's why Avery's a bad bitch and we love her. Avery wins, so everything's over, except that Toby is now owned by Blake, but more or less, everything is over. Then in the epilogue, she's in an interview talking about how the fortune is hers now, what she can do with it. So she decides to give 94% of her money away, which is, it's not 40 billion. It was 30, she had 30 billion. Now she gave away 28 billion of it, kept 2 billion. She bought Libby a cupcake truck, and she brings the boys onto a brand new foundation, which is Hannah Forward and Backwards, which is the way that Toby signed all of his letters to Hannah, aka Sarah, aka Avery's mom. He would address them Hannah Forward, same forward and backwards. That is what they named the foundation after her mother. The goal, though, is they have to spend all $28 billion in this foundation, like they have to give to charities, whatever, they have to spend all of this within 5 years, or it's all gone. I don't know what happens to it after 5 years, like where does it go? I don't know. Avery also kept all of her properties. So her plan right now is to travel the world, explore her properties, decide what she wants to do with them, and then decide what she wants to do with $2 billion, which is still a lot of money. However, she also plans to invent something called the Grandest Game, which is a game that the public can participate in to receive large sums of money. And the game officially started at the end of that interview. Additional notes, Avery and Jameson are the ones who ended up together, and Grayson quit college to work for the foundation. So that's it. That's the final gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and that is the Inheritance Games right now as we know them by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I thought that this book series was absolutely fantastic. I have enjoyed it greatly. I've enjoyed this process a lot. The videos don't do well, but I really don't care because I'm just having a lot of fun with it, and it's been a while since I've had fun making content, so here I am having fun making content. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, that would be great to know. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share if that's the case. Comment down below if you've read these books, or if you want to read these books, or if you've thought about making a wall like this. If you didn't enjoy this video, I'm sorry. I'd ask how I could make it better for you, but this is the last one in the series. But I'm sorry. I make other videos. You can go watch those. And that's it. I will see you guys again on Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and Tuesday next week, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, every single week. That's it. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.